I'm PJ Fleck, the head football coach at the University of Minnesota, and I am coached to win.
Go get me some knowledge.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Christian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Hey, thanks for doing this. I was like a stage 5 stalker for your boy Paul over there because I was like hunting you like crazy. There were 3 people that I wanted to talk to that were on my kill list. I call it my kill list, right? It was Kelly Fingelis, who was the director of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. She was fascinating to me. Frank Martin, who was at South Carolina as a men's basketball coach. He's at UMass now. He was great. And you. I became more obsessed with you from something I saw online. I wasn't even expected to see it, and I still wanted to talk to you just because I've been a fan of you as a coach and how you create programs and how you develop young men and your messaging. I love it. Love it. You're everything I'm about. But it was something that I saw on October 5th of last year, of 2024, right after you guys beat USC. And in the front row is Mike Nolan, your old coach from your San Francisco days when you played in the pros. I was really amazed, Coach, just your affection towards him. And after looking back on it, I wonder why you're so connected to him, to a coach who really didn't coach you that long. What was it about Mike Nolan that left such an impact on you?
Yeah, well, Christian, thanks for having me. This is an honor. This is awesome. But, Mike Nolan is it's the reason I wear a tie on the sideline. Him and Jim Tressel. Mike Nolan wore a coat and tie. His dad, Dick Nolan, wore a coat and tie. And then Jim Tressel, which I'm sure we'll get into that story. I've always had an admiration for my teachers growing up through elementary school, middle school, high school. I might not be able to tell you a lot of different things, but I remember all my teachers. And then my coaches, because they had such an impact in my life. I was an overachiever. I was the king of the twos. I was TOO, too small, too short, too slow, too young. I had every label possible. And it was always my coaches who believed in me and instilled this massive confidence on top of what I already had. And they didn't have to do that. And they were able to look beyond the 5'9", 190-pound stature to what was really inside. That was all my intangibles, all the things you couldn't measure. And I know those are all the corny things people talk about, but I think that's what make people. It's not about our skill, what we're blessed with, that we necessarily can't even change. It's what we develop over time that we choose to develop. And Mike Nolan brought that out in me in the National Football League. And he came in my second year with the Niners. He did not have to keep me. Not only that, gave me a chance to start. And by the time I was kind of done, I was the third on the depth chart, and I was working with the ones, and ended up having 5 total shoulder surgeries, 2 while I was with the Niners, and kind of ended my career. But when he ended up letting me go my third year, he offered me a coaching job in the same breath and sentence as cutting me. So he sat there and said, I'm going to cut you, but I'm going to offer you a coaching job. And I'm like, coaching job? Like, I'm a player. Like, you're going to cut me, and 9 teams were going to offer me millions of dollars because I'm that good, which nobody did. But we have a thought process like, I'm still a player. And after I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to call him back and take the job. And when I did that, Jim Tressel actually called me a little bit earlier and offered me a coaching job, and it just worked out a little bit better. But since that day, Mike Nolan has been maybe one of the greatest male influences in my life. And has stayed in communication with me, has mentored me, has been to our facility, has worked with our defenses that we've gone through. He's just always been there. Him and his wife, Kathy, are just the ultimate coaches, because even in the NFL, he cared about the person first. And there's not many people, even at that level, who might do that. And that's why I cling to him, because he always cared about me as a person first before he cared about me as a player. And that's how we run our organization. And if it wasn't for him, I'd be teaching 6th grade social studies somewhere, which would be great. But
yeah, what does the Roman Empire mean to you?
Exactly, right.
Is that like the ultimate college experience when you think about, as a player coming into college, coming into the league? When you leave, you're left with this just undeniable relationship with a man or woman depending on what sport you're playing, that left such an impact on your life that you think about him, you relate to him, you spread his message, you try to make sure other kids have that, leave college or leave the pros with the same experience as you as a coach. How rewarding is that if one of your players looks at you or speaks about you in that way?
Well, I think that's the greatest compliment you can have of any mentor in your life, is the transformational relationship that they gave you and that you now have with them. If that's continued, I think there's so many things that make that relationship with Coach Nolan so special, is because it was never transactional. There was nothing transactional about it, except sooner or later I wasn't going to be good enough to play for him. But he thought highly enough of the way I worked and the habits that I showed that I had as a person and the effort I gave as a player, that I would be a really good coach. And not only like thinking I'd be a great coach, providing an opportunity. If you saw something in my office, and maybe I'll turn it towards that here in a little bit, but I have 6 letters hanging in my office directly in front of me. And I wrote every Division I school in college that I wanted to coach. And I had no coaching connections. My dad killed bugs for a living. My mom was a special education assistant. My last name means speck of dust. And so I knew I wanted to be a coach, but I had no connection to the real coaching world. So I wrote all coaches, and I got 6 letters back. And those 6 letters are hanging in my office to this day. And Kirk Ferentz, Joe Paterno, Mac Brown at Texas, Ron Turner at Illinois, Greg Brandon at Bowling Green, and then Mark Rick at Georgia. And they didn't know me from Adam, but they wrote me back. And that meant a lot to me. But it's one thing to say somebody's going to be something in life. It's another thing to provide an opportunity for them to do something special. And he transformed my life forever. And that's why we have 5 or 6 former players now on my staff now that played for me. Because if I can provide opportunities for these young 24, 25-year-olds that I was given, and I had the opportunity, it's the way to pay it forward. So it's transformed my life completely. There was nothing transactional about the relationship. And I think there was nothing really like that back then. And it was truly transactional. You didn't have a relationship with your head coach like that. And again, to this day, I mean, we're exceptionally close.
You've worked under so many great coaches, Tressel, Nolan, Schiano. Whose personality do you think you are closest to?
Wow. I would like to say that kind of all of them. I'm me. I am me, but I have pieces from all of them. Mike Nolan is the classiest man I've ever met. Right, period. Everything he does is done with class. Jim Tressel, related to the players on a level that I haven't seen anybody be able to do. His office was right next to the locker room and next to the team meeting. So you had to go by his office as a player, and everybody was always in there.
Clever.
I always walk by it like it's like a hangout. It's like a lobby. And I thought that was really unique for a head coach to have. Greg Schiano is the most detailed, organized man I've ever been around. And I get that from him. So you take all of this from these coaches, and then you're yourself. And I think that there's so many head coaches that aren't their authentic, real self. And I think when you are going to stand out. You're going to be different. I don't think I ever try to be different. I'm just myself. And when you are authentic and you are real, you're going to look different than the norm of whatever the norm is. I was blessed enough to be a head coach at the age of 32 years old. I didn't know anything about being a head coach except for all the experiences I got from people. So you have to kind of go through it on your own, where you're doing it yourself. You're taking all of these things from the things you learn from other people. But you have to be authentic and real to who you are. And I think that's why, I'm still a head coach 13 years later and, defying gravity, meaning like I haven't been fired yet. But it'll happen at some point. We all do. But it's that transformational piece. It's that authenticity. And it's really, I've been around some unbelievable people. I mean, I got an 18 on my ACT 3 times, and I surround myself with people who know way more about things than I do. And I'm the cultural driver. I'm kind of gasoline on the fire, but we hire really, really motivated people. and recruit and develop really motivated people who want something huge for their life. And same thing with the coaching staff, which I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
we'll
I
get
can
into
only
here in a little
imagine
bit.
what your recruiting visits are like with the parents as you sit down at their table and you explain to them like what you're doing. They probably want to sign with you more than the kid does based on how you talk. You touched on something and that I'm obsessed with because it's my kind of holy grail. And I have a new nickname for you, and it's the Indiana Jones of cultural development. And you ever seen that old Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at the end of the movie? Two guys are they're in the temple and they're trying to figure out which one is the chalice, right? And the uppity know-it-all guy runs over there and grabs a real shiny chalice because that's what he thinks Jesus would drink out of, right? And Indiana Jones and all his wisdom and cleverness grabs like the most nondescript one around, right? Real simple and plain, but very meaningful. And he lives to tell the tale. This idea of culture is thrown around so much, Coach. I feel like you have a unique ability and a history of being able to tell me what you think it is, how do you build it, how do you sustain it, and then how do you grow it. It's a 4-part process, and I know you can do this for me, but I am interested in your opinion of that topic, which everyone is searching for. Every single coach I've ever met is searching for that word culture, and they all do it differently. Some fail, some succeed.
All right, you're gonna have to edit this. You got to give me 3 seconds.
I'm gonna right now. This is where I play the elevator music, like I'm waiting. There it is. All right, here he is.
This is why I love you. You had no idea, but this is the actual Holy Grail. We call it Holy Grail because how you do it matters more than anything of what you do. We have a clip we show everybody 2 times a year for 13 straight years, and it's the exact clip of the Holy Grail.
That's amazing.
Stuff. It's dirty. It's filthy.
Yeah.
It's the process. It's the culture. It's the day-to-day grind that tests how bad you want what you say you want. The national championship trophy. This is not the process. This is the reward.
Yeah.
This is the journey.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing you brought that up because no one's ever talked to me about that clip.
I've never heard anybody mention it for you. I told you, I've been thinking about you for a while now. It's very scary because I just wish that more coaches were as passionate and outgoing and thoughtful and direct as you are. It would just make everybody's life so much easier. And that stood out to me just based on just how simplified the whole message really can be. I don't need to describe it. You do it. Because the fact that you have that freaking chalice in your office is amazing to me.
Well, we have a national championship display case, and this is in it. Because this isn't in it. We haven't won this, but this won't go in it. This will always be in it because you win a title by this. And we have shirts made up for our players, the Holy Grail, and on the back it says "Choose wisely," right? Just like the actual movie.
That's right. That was for the movie, yeah.
And he chose poorly, you know. But I think it's really, really unique that you brought that up because we're really proud of what we do. I think there's so many people like I love what I do every day, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished in 13 years and what we've created. And I'm not afraid to say that to recruits, to parents. I'm not for everybody. I say that all the time. I don't want to be for everybody. We'd all marry the same person. We'd all drive the same car. We'd all live in the same town. That doesn't exist. So we're not necessarily into the recruiting. We're into the selecting and finding people who fit our culture. There's nothing wrong with that. There's 25 to 30 kids all over the country that we can find that fit this overachieving mindset of I want to build an incredible life for myself and the people around me and not just make a living. And cultures, I think, teach us that. We define culture as simply this: connecting people. That's it. So when you hear this word culture and people that are big in culture, sometimes they'll be like, oh, that's just hearsay or here speak, and that's just coach speak. And that's just, we all run our own cultures. Some people are willing to share it with the world with Row the Boat and hyperculture. And I speak to all types of companies about it. And I'm very outspoken on culture because I know what it does inside of our walls and what it does to our people's lives. I think some people don't speak on it because maybe they don't have as strong. Maybe they don't want to share it. Maybe they're not willing to have people throw stones at it or make fun of it. Like, I don't care about that. What I care about is how we connect people, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, and that's all culture does. It's your unique way of connecting 115, 105 person locker room, all rowing the boat in the same direction. We all do it a little different, but you're getting everybody aligned and doing it for something way bigger than themselves. And everybody has a different way of doing that and promoting that within their walls. We're just a little more outspoken than others of how we actually get that done.
I cannot talk to you without bringing up your tagline. I don't know what you call it, but it's row the boat, right? And it's the oar, it's the boat, and it's the compass. But I don't want you to talk about it briefly, but I am curious how you came up and how you discovered that way of describing it. Were you on a walk during the fall and you saw somebody struggling with their oars? How did you come up with the idea of row the boat? Like, where did that start?
Yeah, well, I'll take you back to February 9, 2011, and I have no problem sharing these types of stuff. And this is about being authentic and real. And sometimes head coaches were looked at as celebrities, like we have no issues, no problems in life. And you're only looked at as coach. You're not looked at as a person. February 9, 2011, my second son passed away to a heart condition. And that changes your life forever. If you ever held your son as they've taken their last breath, that's the worst day you could ever have in your life. So everything else on top of it is positive. So there's no bad days. There's hard days, but no bad days. And when you have that type of mindset and you take something from tragedy, you don't share it to get attention. What you're sharing it for is you're sharing it to influence and use your platform to influence other people's lives while you have the platform. And that's how I've always looked at my life. I'm here to do and give on a bigger level to a community, a state, whoever's willing to listen, that I can help, that has gone through the same things I've gone through, or is going through something that's really difficult that they never think they're going to make their way out of it. And you can think about 105 out of 105 players have all had something tragic happen to them. The first thing I always ask our players is, give me the hardest thing you've ever been through. I don't want somebody who's never been through anything difficult or hard or doesn't have adversity in their life. And so that's where it comes from. The reason I thought of row the boat is it's so simple. It's so simple. Row, row, row your boat. We are all taught that nursery rhyme as a kid. And when I started to think of what do I want to have, this is crazy. When I was at Rutgers, because this is where Colton passed away. And he passed away at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. That's CHOP. I was at Rutgers with Greg Schiano's Keep Chopping. I mean, you're talking about something that hit me in the face that you need to use this for something. It took me about 6 months to a year to actually come up with like row the boat and what it was going to be with the oar, the boat, the compass, the never give up lifestyle. But I mean, what are the chances that the name of the hospital's CHOP? Out of all the places in the world, I'm with Greg Schiano, who has Keep Chopping. Kyle Flood at the time, who's the coordinator at Texas, was going through something similar too. I mean, all these God winks, and I'm not getting religious on anybody, but you're talking about somebody telling you something like, I know it's really difficult, but this is going to be used to impact and influence so many people. And we're one of the only programs whose slogan is directly tied to charity. We don't make money off Row the Boat. The Children's Hospital does here on campus, and everything tied to Row the Boat goes to Masonic Children's Hospital. And it's just unique that you can take a football program and make it a life program of never giving up and rowing the boat. And you can combine all that in this transformational world that's supposed to be transactional right now. And you can change so many lives. So that's what makes Row the Boat so unique and special. And when you do share that, though, you better be ready for all the adversity. We've had people burn oars on the sideline. People make fun of Row the Boat. And you better be comfortable enough that know that once you share something publicly, people are going to bash you for it or bash the program for it or recruit against it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Of
I'm
course.
pretty comfortable in my
Yeah.
skin. So you can imagine.
Yeah. Have you ever put your team in an actual rowboat?
Yeah. Yes and no. An actual rowboat, I've done a lot.
Like on the
We
water?
Yes, we this is crazy. We've done boat races during usually the end of winter conditioning. We'll take our players to the university pool here, and we get those yellow and blue, like almost maize and blue boats that we had as a kid that have those little
Yeah.
oars, the plastic things. We buy 30 of those things,
Oh,
and
that's great.
we've got to like putting the paddles on their hands so they can row. Because paddling and rowing are two different things, and those
Yeah.
things are really difficult when you put a 300-pounder in one of those things. So, but yes, I mean we've done row the boat races, and we do everything we can to tie things to rowing the boat. Excuse me, but as you said, it's kind of like a pyramid. But sometimes head coaches feel, or people at the top of any organization, is I'm going to create this culture. I'm going to demand that this culture gets done, but I don't have to live it. And that's so far from the truth. I work and live for the same culture that I created, and I'm held accountable to my culture by my players and my staff, just like anybody else. And I think that's what's unique. I think about our program and culture is, I don't have a secretary, I don't have an assistant. Um, my players can walk in here at any moment. It's just different, and
Yeah.
it's not meant to be different. It's just the way that we're going to run our culture and program.
I spoke to this guy, a 4-star general. His name's Mike Garrett, and he has this whole thing about he doesn't walk by trash. Like he sees it, he picks it up. He sees it, he picks it up. And so one time somebody asked him, like, dude, like we're at the airport. Stop picking up trash. Like we're over here. Stop doing it. And he said, well, I said it. I have to live it no matter where I am, no matter what I do. And I was like, man, that's a commitment like no other. Because he's like, well, I don't know if somebody's watching me. I don't know if somebody's seeing me. They may think I don't mean what I say. I always thought that was interesting. Do you ever get tired of talking about that idea of row the boat? Like it's been around since you were at Western Michigan. You took it with you to Minnesota. Do you ever really sit there and go, I got to talk about it again? Is there any part of you that wants a break?
No. I know that I'm not going to be a head coach forever. Again, it goes back to the platform that you're blessed with. Like, there are so many things as a college coach that I think we feel we have control over. And one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned as a leader is controls for amateurs. The word control, right? We as coaches, and that's why I think the NIL world and the portal world has really set people off, because the amount of control we once thought we had is less than it's ever been. But have we really had the control to begin with? So I never get tired of talking about it, because I don't know when that platform is never going to be there. And if we're talking about taking our platform and using it as influence, and using it as taking the power that we have and using it for the good of other people, then I don't think you can ever get sick of it. I think it's part of my job is to make sure that people understand how our culture works, our program works, and not to just sit there and promote that, but to make other people think about their own program and culture and how they can make it better. And I think that's the biggest piece, whether it's a family culture or a religious culture, or it's a hospital culture or an educational culture or a Fortune 500 culture. We all have ways to get better. And I think that's why I'm never afraid or ever get sick of talking about it, because it is how I live my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but it gives an example of what are you doing to create that type of drive and that type of accountability within your organization. And it's funny you brought up the trash, because Joe Novak used to tell me that you're ready to be a head coach when you pick up trash on your own field and put it in your pocket, because it's yours and you're taking care of it.
That's funny. That's true. It's funny.
Like
That's what coaches are doing. That's what their pockets are filled with.
That's right. Exactly.
Trash, wrappers, cups. It's like, what the hell?
But I think it's the attention to detail piece. Like,
Yeah.
If you come into our building, every room has a certain scent. It's down to the detail of that much of what do I want people to experience and smell in this room. From our recovery suite smells like eucalyptus, right? I mean, it's a recovery suite, and scent is tied to recovery. Sound is tied to recovery. Small pieces, but you're turning over every stone in a program like this. Nothing is overlooked. And I think that's really important when creating a culture. It's how you do one thing is how you do everything, and everything you come in contact with should represent that.
It's just too damn competitive for you to leave any blind spots. Your
Right.
conference is way too competitive, way too difficult in recruiting for you to allow anything slide. Just one more thing, coach, that I promise I wouldn't keep you long. Let's just say you have the opportunity to gift young adults one trait, one characteristic, a trait or a characteristic that you think that would help them not only in their athletic life but in their life after the sport that they play, something that would help them be successful in life. What would that one trait, what would that one characteristic be?
Yeah, I'm gonna steal too, so I apologize. But
That's all
I think
right.
the number one thing that connects locker rooms, that connects people, organizations, more than anything. I mean, connects, right? We're not talking just brings people together. Connects is empathy and gratitude. The number one thing, the best teams I've ever been a part of have those two traits. They're empathetic and they have gratitude. They get to do this. And all coaches do is it comes from stagecoach. Take important people from where they are to where they dream of being or where they
Leading
want to
them.
go.
Yeah. Leading them. Yeah.
All these families do is hire me to hold their son accountable for the dreams that they have. And if I believe in your dream more than you believe in your dream, we'll never get there. But that's why I say that I'm just gasoline on the fire. And when we recruit and select young people, these are highly, highly driven people. And all that I am doing is holding them accountable and showing them the blueprint for where they want to go. And the people and the teams that have gotten there are the people who are incredibly empathetic, right? And can put themselves in other people's shoes. And they can also have gratitude that they're not expected to get handouts. They're not expected to get this or have it handed to them. They're still the old school, earn everything that you get type people. And that's the number. Those are the two top traits that I wish I could just give everybody. Because if we gave those to everybody, we'd have a way different world.
Yeah, I totally agree. But do you ever feel overwhelmed by the burden that exists with you being the head coach and the responsibility that you have with all these kids and the fact that you have 4 of your own kids and a wife and a family and a life outside of football?
No, because as my wife Heather says, you chose this, and this is a choice. Like anything in life, it's a choice. And one thing I love about our job is the only thing that stays the same is every day changes. I've never had my schedule that I make from 6 in the morning till 11 at night ever go as planned, ever in 13 years being a head coach. And I think I'm somebody who I hate being bored. I love to break boring. And I don't think I'd be really good at the same thing every day. And being a head coach, I love that challenge because everybody that comes through my door, when they knock, nobody's coming in and say, Coach, I just want to let you know you're doing such a great job. I love working for you. Oh my gosh, I love playing. This is the greatest. They're coming through with an issue, a problem, and they need you for a solution. And I love that piece because that's part of the educational system that I come from. And being an elementary school teacher before I played in the NFL, that's what I have a passion for is that educational piece. So, yeah, I never get tired of it. But I will say that I told my wife too that the day I wake up and I can only give 99.9% of my energy, I'm done because I only want to do it 100%. And I'm still doing it 100%.
I can tell.